This is the sound Nicholas Alkemade heard on the night of March 24, 1944. The sound of 20,000 feet of empty, freezing air between him and the ground. The sound of certain death. His Lancaster bomber was a funeral pyre in the sky. The wings, drenched in burning fuel. The fuselage, melting around. His parachute, a smoldering pile of ash. And in that moment, staring into the abyss, he made a choice. He would not be burned alive. He would choose how he died. He swung his legs out into the night and let go. This is not a story about a crash. This is the story of the longest fall in human history and the man who lived to tell the tale. Welcome to Top Tier TV. In the annals of human survival, there are stories that defy all logic, that challenge our very understanding of physics and fate. The story of Sergeant Nicholas Alkemade, a 21-year-old tail gunner from Loughborough, England, is perhaps the most astounding of them all. He was part of a crew of 7 on a night raid over Berlin. Theirs was a dangerous job, sitting in a perspex bubble at the very rear of the aircraft, exposed and vulnerable. On this night, their Lancaster was jumped by a German Ju-88 night fighter. Cannon shells ripped through the fuel tanks, and in an instant, the aircraft was engulfed in a fireball. For Nicholas Alkemade, trapped in the tail, the world narrowed to a single horrifying equation: burn or jump. Imagine the scene. The roar of the flames is louder than the engines. The plexiglass of his turret is beginning to bubble and warp from the heat. He can feel it through his flight suit. He tries to reach his parachute, stowed near his seat, but the flames have already claimed it. It's gone, a collapsed, charred ruin. He's trapped. The intercom is dead. He has no way of knowing if the rest of his crew is alive or if they've already bailed out. The fire is snaking its way along the fuselage, getting closer, feeding on the aircraft's skin. This is the moment that defines a life, the point where hope evaporates. For most, it would be a moment of pure terror. But for Alkemade, a strange, icy calm descended. He later recounted that he felt a profound acceptance. His death was inevitable. The method was his only choice. He remembered the stories of airmen who had burned to death, trapped in their cockpits. It was a fate he refused. He would take the clean, swift impact of the ground over the agonizing torture of the flames. He crawled back to the rear hatch. With blistered hands, he released the latch. The door was sucked away into the night. He looked down. There was only blackness, a void. He didn't jump. He simply leaned forward and let gravity take him. What goes through a man's mind during a 3-minute fall from 20,000 feet? Alkemade later described it not as terror, but as a strange, peaceful solitude. The fire was gone. The noise of the dying aircraft faded. There was only the wind and the stars. He was conscious for the entire descent. He saw the curved silhouette of the earth against the stars. He saw the faint glow of towns and cities far below, looking no more substantial than scattered embers. He felt no sensation of falling, only of being suspended, vast, cold darkness. He lost his boots to the slipstream, but otherwise, he was eerily still. He estimated he passed out from lack of oxygen, only to regain consciousness as he entered thicker, warmer air. The ground, once an abstract concept, was now becoming real. He could make out darker patches against the dark forests. And then, the peace was gone. The howl of the wind became urgent, frantic. The dark shapes below resolved into individual trees, rushing up at him with impossible speed. This was it. He braced for the oblivion he had chosen. But oblivion did not come. Instead, there was a series of violent, jarring impacts. He was crashing through the canopy of a dense pine forest. Each branch, each limb, was stealing a fraction of his deadly speed, breaking his fall. And then, the final act of his miracle. The winter of 1944 had been harsh. Germany was covered in a deep, soft blanket of snow. He landed back first in a thick snowdrift, having been slowed by the pine boughs to a survivable, if still brutal, impact. He lay there in the sudden, shocking silence. The wind was gone. All he could hear was his own heartbeat thumping in his ears. He was alive. He checked himself. His body was a canvas of pain. A severe sprain in his leg, lacerations and bruises everywhere, but nothing was broken. He could move. He had lost his boots, but he still had his cigarettes. He lit one, his hands shaking, the flame a tiny beacon of life in the dark, silent forest. His war, however, was not over. He was soon captured by the German Gestapo, and when he told them his story, they didn't believe it. They accused him of being a spy, of having hidden his parachute. How could anyone survive such a fall? Frustrated and incredulous, the Germans took him to the site where his Lancaster had crashed. The wreckage was scattered over a wide area, and there, amidst the torn metal, they found the remains of his tailgun position, and crucially, they found the charred, melted frame of his parachute, still in its storage rack, exactly as he had described. The German attitude changed instantly, from suspicion to a kind of awed respect. They gave him a signed affidavit, officially documenting his incredible survival for the Red Cross. It was a gesture of honor between enemies. He spent the rest of the war in a POW camp, a living legend. Nicholas Alkemade returned home after the war and lived a long, quiet life, passing away in 1987. His story remains one of the most verified and incredible tales of survival in all of human history. The story of Nicholas Alkemade is more than just a lucky break. It's a story about the power of a single, clear-headed choice in the face of certain death. It's about the razor-thin line between a tragedy and a miracle, a line drawn by pine trees and a cushion of snow. It forces us to wonder, what would we do in that final, terrible moment? Would we have the courage to choose our end? And what does it mean that, against all odds, the universe sometimes grants a reprieve? What do you think was the most critical factor in his survival? Was it the pine trees, the snow, his body position, or just sheer, undeniable luck? Let us know your opinion in the comments below. We have a brilliant community here at Top Tier TV, and we read every single one. If this story of impossible survival left you in awe, if you believe these are the tales that push the boundaries of what we believe is possible, then please help us out. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We are dedicated to bringing you the most gripping, well-researched stories from the edge of history. Tap the bell icon so you won't miss our next incredible journey. Thank you for watching. Remember the fall and remember the man, Nicholas Alkemade.